Oh, hello, my dears. It's your Grandma Lily here, settling in for a little chat, just like we used to do around the fireplace, remember? Today, my heart is full of a story I want to share. A story about my dear friend, Mr. George. George, we've seen so many seasons turn together, haven't we? Through thick and thin, his laughter has always been a comforting melody in my life. But lately, a little shadow had fallen over him. He seemed weary. His steps were a bit slower, his usual twinkle a little dimmed. It reminded me so much of my own beloved husband, Arthur, in his later years. He too faced those quiet battles with energy and movement, and it taught our family so much about the power of gentle, unwavering love. You see, my dears, as the years gather around us like a warm shawl, they sometimes bring along little challenges with our bodies, don't they? That feeling of not quite having the zest we once did, the days feeling a tad heavier on our shoulders. But I've learned over the years, watching my friends and remembering Arthur, that just like tending a delicate rose, consistent, loving care can coax the most beautiful blooms. And that's precisely what George's wonderful children, Michael and Sarah, showed him. They didn't rush, they didn't push. They simply wrapped him in layers of love and support, guiding him back to a brighter, more vibrant life, one tender step at a time. Let me tell you how they did it, and perhaps it will bring a little comfort and guidance to your own hearts. Number 1, the deep well of restful nights. My dear George had been wrestling with sleep for what seemed like an eternity. He'd lie awake for hours, his mind racing with the day's thoughts, or he'd drift off, only to be startled awake in the wee hours, feeling anything but rested. It's a common struggle, my dears, this changing rhythm of sleep as we age. His son Michael, a man with a heart as big as his hands, saw the toll it was taking. George was tired, yes, but also a little disheartened. Michael remembered a conversation he had with a sleep specialist, who explained that good sleep isn't just about closing our eyes. It's a vital process where our bodies repair and rejuvenate, especially the brain. As the experts at Healthline explain, during quality sleep, our bodies release hormones that help repair tissues, reduce inflammation, and consolidate memories, all of which are crucial for maintaining cognitive function and overall well-being in older adults. Michael, with the gentle persistence of a loving son, made sleep a priority for his father. He learned that creating a calming bedtime routine is like preparing fertile ground for sleep to blossom. He encouraged George to avoid stimulating activities in the evenings. No more exciting detective shows right before bed that would get his mind racing. Instead, they established a peaceful ritual. An hour before sleep, they'd dim the lights, creating a cozy, serene atmosphere in his room. Michael would often play soft classical music, the kind that soothes the soul. And sometimes he'd brew a warm cup of chamomile tea, its gentle aroma filling the air with tranquility. He even remembered how much George loved being read to as a child, so he'd pick out comforting stories or poems and read in a low, soothing voice until his father's eyelids grew heavy. It was a simple act of love, a return to a cherished intimacy, and it created a safe and peaceful haven for George to drift off to sleep. Slowly, like a flower unfurling in the morning sun, George's sleep began to deepen and lengthen. He started waking up feeling refreshed, a genuine smile gracing his lips, ready to embrace the new day with a renewed spirit. It reminded me of something the wise Maya Angelou once said: "Each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, without publicizing it, there's a ripple effect. That ripple effect can reach across the world." Michael's quiet act of love created a ripple of well-being in his father's life. You see, my dears, sometimes the most profound healing comes not from grand interventions, but from the consistent, tender care that nurtures our bodies and souls in the quiet hours of the night. Number 2, the unfolding joy of gentle movement. George, a man who found solace and joy in the pages of a good book, had become quite fond of his armchair. Hours would melt away as he journeyed through different worlds and times. His daughter, Sarah, a woman with a keen understanding of the body as a physiotherapist, watched with a loving concern. She knew that while rest is important, our bodies, like well-oiled machines, need to keep moving, even in our later years. As the esteemed Mayo Clinic wisely reminds us, even small increases in physical activity throughout the day can significantly improve blood circulation, elevate energy levels, enhance muscle strength, and crucially, maintain our precious mobility in older adults. Sarah, with her gentle yet firm approach, didn't try to turn her father into a marathon runner overnight. Instead, she wove movement into the fabric of their daily lives. After his midday meal, she'd suggest a leisurely stroll through his beloved garden, pointing out the budding roses or the ripening tomatoes. She'd set a timer during his reading sessions, gently reminding him to stand up, stretch his arms and legs, and walk around the room for a few minutes every hour. Sometimes, she'd bring her children along, George's grandchildren, their youthful energy and laughter filling the air, turning a simple exercise into a joyful family affair. It wasn't about pushing him to exhaustion. It was about incorporating gentle, consistent movement into his day, making it a natural and enjoyable part of his routine. I remember one sunny afternoon, watching them from my window, George's face alight with happiness as he walked hand in hand with his granddaughter, pointing out a particularly vibrant butterfly. It reminded me that, even in our twilight years, the simple act of moving our bodies, especially when shared with the warmth of loved ones, is an invaluable gift that keeps our spirits and our bodies alive. It's not the dramatic leaps that define our journey, my dears, but the steady, loving rhythm of support that keeps us moving forward, one gentle step at a time. Number 3, the nourishing embrace of golden rays. Sarah, ever observant, also noticed that George, particularly during the long gray days of winter, wasn't stepping into the sunlight as much as he used to. She understood the profound connection between sunlight and our well-being, knowing that it's our primary natural source of that vital vitamin D. As the respected experts at Harvard Health Publishing meticulously explain, regular exposure to natural light plays a critical role in maintaining strong bones, supporting muscle strength, bolstering our immune system, and even significantly influencing our mood and emotional state. So, every morning, as the dawn painted the sky with soft hues, Sarah would make it a ritual to open George's curtains wide, allowing the golden rays to stream into his room. She'd encourage him to sit by the window with his morning coffee for at least 15 precious minutes, letting the gentle warmth kiss his skin. On brighter days, she'd carefully escort him out to sit on the porch, where he could feel the sun's embrace and breathe in the fresh air. It wasn't solely about the vitamin D, though that was important. It was about bringing the vibrant energy of the outdoors in, lifting his spirits, and reconnecting him with the natural rhythm of the day and the changing seasons. I vividly recall George telling me how much he cherished those quiet moments bathed in sunlight, a sense of peace and tranquility washing over him like a gentle wave. Sometimes, my dears, the most profound nourishment comes from the simplest of sources, like the golden warmth of the sun on our skin, reminding us of the vibrant life that surrounds us. Number 4, the quiet strength found in simple steps. As time went on, George began to feel a little less steady on his feet. That simple act of rising from his favorite armchair became a bit of a challenge, a subtle sign of weakening leg muscles that worried both Michael and Sarah. Michael, with his strength and practicality, diligently researched simple yet effective leg exercises, the very kind that the esteemed American College of Sports Medicine emphasizes as being critical for fall prevention and significantly improving overall balance and mobility in older adults. Together, Michael and Sarah made these exercises a part of George's daily routine. Michael would patiently guide him through seated leg lifts, while Sarah, with her physiotherapy expertise, would ensure he was performing gentle squats correctly using a sturdy chair for support. They'd dedicate just 10 minutes each day, often with Sarah making it a lighthearted affair, sharing stories and encouragement. It wasn't about pushing him beyond his limits, but about consistent, gentle strengthening, building a foundation of stability. Slowly, like a sturdy tree growing stronger roots, George's legs regained their strength. He stood up from his chair with newfound confidence, and soon, he was taking a few extra steps around the house, his movements becoming more fluid and less tiring. It was their combined patience and unwavering love that made all the difference, reminding us that even small, consistent efforts, when fueled by family, can yield remarkable results. The path to regaining strength, my dears, is often paved with small, consistent acts of love and unwavering support, each step a testament to the enduring power of family. Number 5. The serene harmony of gentle movement. Finally, Sarah, with her understanding of holistic well-being, introduced George to the gentle practice of Tai Chi. She had learned about its remarkable benefits for seniors, how its slow, flowing movements enhance balance, improve flexibility, strengthen muscles, and even sharpen mental clarity. As numerous studies suggest, these gentle practices can also significantly reduce stress, alleviate anxiety, and promote a profound sense of overall well-being. Initially, George was a little hesitant, unsure if this slow, deliberate movement was for him. But Sarah, with her gentle persuasion and Michael's quiet encouragement, found a beginner's class nearby, and Sarah accompanied him to each session. The slow, graceful movements, synchronized with deep, mindful breathing, seemed to calm his often racing mind and gently stretch his aging body. He wasn't attempting any complicated or strenuous poses, just simple, mindful movements that flowed like a gentle stream. Over time, I witnessed a beautiful transformation in George. He carried himself with more poise. A sense of inner peace radiated from him, and even his outlook on life seemed brighter, filled with a newfound serenity. It reminded me that finding balance in our movements can also bring a profound balance to our hearts and minds, creating a harmonious connection between our physical and emotional selves. So, my dears, the beautiful story of my friend George reminds us that even as the years grace us with their presence, we can discover a renewed sense of energy and strength through the simple yet profound power of loving care. It wasn't expensive remedies or demanding exercises that brought back the sparkle in George's eyes and the spring in his step. It was the consistent, unwavering love and support of his children, Michael and Sarah, gently guiding him towards habits that nurtured his body, soothed his mind, and uplifted his spirit. Remember, my dears, just like Michael and Sarah, a little bit of patience, a generous dose of understanding, and an abundance of love from our families can truly make all the difference in the world for those we hold dear. Cherish the precious bonds you share, and allow yourselves to be cherished in return. If George's journey has touched your heart or offered a glimmer of hope, please do share this story with others who might need a little encouragement. And if you'd like to join me for more heartfelt stories and gentle wisdom from your Grandma Lily, please do subscribe to our little corner of the internet and tap that notification bell so you don't miss our next fireside chat. Age, my dears, is simply a chapter in our beautiful story, and with a little love and a lot of care, every page can be filled with warmth, joy, and enduring strength. Until we meet again, please take the very best care of yourselves and those precious souls you hold close to your heart.